So I've got this kind of enormous piece of redwood. I haven't used redwood because I haven't used many kinds of wood. I'm reading up on it. Some people have successfully used it. And I'm going to make a guitar with a separate body and top. So as guitar aficionados will recognize straight away, it's based on the shape of a Fender Telecaster. But as is the case at Monster Guitars, we don't just directly reproduce classic designs as is. We monster them up a bit. We make some alterations. In this case, kind of a modest alteration. It's a bit messy down here because I've been thinking of how to redesign the shape slightly. So I'm going to be following that line there with sort of a monstery beak, enabling slightly better access to the upper frets here. I won't be using a traditional Fender Telecaster headstock either. I will probably use this one, which I'm using on my Toronado project as well. I do like the shape of that, and I think it's going to become sort of a signature headstock for Monster Guitars. So having put my template to the bandsaw, here's the rough cut of this template. I have a 1/2-inch blade in my bandsaw, which isn't that wide, but it's I wouldn't try to do quite tight curves like that one there. And even in here, it's not that easy to do. So I use a technique, it probably has a name, but I just kind of made it up, but I'm sure it exists, of doing lots of cuts down to the line so that those pieces can then just be filed and cut out easily. So now that I've got the rough cut, I'll take this over to the spindle sander and sand the edge a bit tidier. And the body template is completed. I've made 3 body templates in my life, so not very many, but the first 2 are a heck of a lot rougher than this, basically thanks to having a good bandsaw blade in this one and having a spindle sander. That really, the latter in particular, these edges are really nice, and they make for good routing from this template. So that looks nice. It's not going to be easy to resist playing with this guitar while I'm working on the existing ones. In fact, I probably won't, because let's face it, I can do whatever I want. So I will be playing with this one while working on the Toronado. Watch this space. I'm in the planning stage now for this guitar with no name. It's based on a Telecaster with some interesting differences, which I'll cover shortly. The Monster Guitar with no name. Now, planning doesn't make for great video, but it's important. It's possibly the most important stage, I think, in any kind of project, and I'm assuming, given my lack of experience, that that's true for guitar building as well. So, we've got someone just starting up their lawnmower next door. Hopefully it's not too loud on the video. So the top, and this is one of the differences already. Traditionally, a Fender Telecaster is a solid body. It doesn't have a separate top. Well, I am having a separate top. And the top is made from, will be made from this book-matched Australian oak. I think in the past I may have casually referred to this wood as oak. And oak, well, when I think oak, I usually think English oak, the acorn tree. And this is very different, even though it has the same name. So this is Australian oak. I do like English oak. Not everyone does. That meanie from Crimson Guitars, Ben Crow, he's very cool, but he's also a meanie because he said he doesn't like oak. It's ugly, he said. It's heavy. It looks like furniture. Well, it looks like nice-looking furniture. That's why people use it for furniture, because it looks good. But I digress. We don't have to agree. But Australian oak is a bit lighter and not as hard, and the grain is quite different. It's nice, and that's what my top is made from. The body will be made from this huge slab of redwood that you may have seen earlier. It's from one side to the other, it's 300 millimeters wide, and as you can see, that's not quite as wide as my body template. So I couldn't make the body out of that by itself, but that's okay, because the method of construction that I'm using is called through neck construction. My brain, for some reason, always wants to reverse those words and say neck through construction. Is it? Now I'm getting confused. Is it neck through construction? Yes, it is. I did it again. I'm using neck through construction. If you hear me get it wrong, please understand that I I do know what it's called. I just have these things that I get wrong sometimes. So the way that I'll be doing that is by cutting the length of redwood that I need for the body, and then cutting that lengthwise, and then sandwiching a third piece between those two pieces, and that will obviously make up part of the body, and it will also make up the neck. So I won't be using a neck tenon, which is where there's a tenon or a piece sticking out of the neck that you slide into the snugly fitting pocket and glue it in. And it also won't be a bolt-on. You can see from the template that traditionally a fended Telecaster neck is a bolt-on, where you make the body and you make a neck from a separate piece, and then you bolt the neck on. I won't be doing that. I'll be doing a, think carefully, Glenn, neck through construction, where the neck is through the body. And so then with those bits of wood all glued together, it will easily be as wide as I need for the body. So that's all good. And for the neck, I'll be making a multi-laminate neck. So there'll be multiple pieces stuck together. Actually, there'll be 3 pieces. The outer 2 will match and the inner strip will contrast. And the inner strip is going to be made from half of this piece of walnut. Walnut is a lovely dark wood. You can't quite see how dark it is here because that's still rough sawn. So the surface is quite matte. Once I've dressed it and made it look a bit nicer, you'll see that it's a bit darker, and it really is a lovely wood on guitars. It looks good. And that'll be sandwiched between a lighter wood, which isn't difficult given that walnut is so dark. What wood would I use? What wood would I use? Is it a tongue twister? Not quite. For the outer strips, don't know. Maybe some white oak. That would be really contrasty. Given where I am in the world in New Zealand, I would like to maybe use some New Zealand wood. So perhaps Cody or Matai or Rimu, which is a wood I haven't used before. But that's also a very nice wood. I guess that's the next step here, finding the remaining wood that I will use for the neck. Yes. Yes, so these are the plans that I'm making at the moment. I guess in the next video you'll see me with whatever it is I've found for the neck. Well, I think I have a solution for the wood that I'm going to use in my Telecaster guitar necks. I belong to the Wellington Guild of Woodworkers. I like the fact that it has the word guild in it. Makes it sound very fantasy-ish. And one of the fellows in the group was giving away some Rimu posts. Rimu is a really lovely New Zealand native wood. This particular post might not be good for many things when it comes to building guitars because it has too many holes in it. The posts were part of a big clothes rack, and people would put poles into those holes. So that piece, well, I could still use it for veneers, for headstocks and the like, but this piece here is going to give me what I want. I'm pretty sure of that. So yes, it does have holes, but I think that's going to be okay. So here's why. So the piece is 9 centimeters, 90 mils thick, which is very generous. That's thick enough for 2 bodies. So once I've done all the other dimensioning that I need to, I will cut it along there and then put one piece aside for the second Telecaster that I'll make after I've done the first one to see that it went well. It's quite rounded over on the edges, so I will plane it on left and right to get rid of that rounding over. I won't plane top or bottom because I want to keep all the thickness, so that wouldn't be a good idea. And the only worry was this hole, but actually the thickness of that wood there is still 25 millimeters, which is plenty. Given that it's already nicely finished on top, so I won't have to be planing that back lots. 25 millimeters was the original thickness of the wood that I used to make the devil-tailed guitar neck, so I know that's enough. So that's great. This is going to give me just what I want. So I will plane left and cut to length, plane left and right, and then I will plane it a little on top because it's got a finish on it and I don't want that. And then I will split it down the middle and sandwich the strip of walnut from that piece between the 2 pieces of Rimu, and then I will have my 3-stripe neck through neck, and that'll be lovely. So some of this will have to wait. Pretty much all of it will have to wait because I do need a bit of dexterity when I do this, so I'll wait until this monstrosity is off my hand and I can use it a bit better than I can now. But that's good. It's going to look great.